Hey guys, welcome to DevOps School. In this video tutorial, we are going to learn about Docker. It helps us to create, deploy and run applications by using containers. After going through this tutorial, I promise you that the concept and understanding of the Docker will be absolutely clear to you.
But before that, let me ask you a few things. Are you dreaming of a career with higher pay and more responsibilities? Or are you ready to take your skills to the next level this year? Then start investing in DevOps School certification level courses which will help you to emerge skills for a wide range of entry-level roles and as well as higher potential future positions. But with thousands of courses online and in classroom worldwide, finding the right one for your career goals can be difficult. You can consider our courses like Agile Developer, Agile QA, DevOps Certified Professionals, Site Reliability Engineering, DevSecOps, and Masters in DevOps Engineering, where you will have access to well-structured, easy-to-follow course content that has been developed and will be delivered by industry professionals. You can join on our training programs globally through online platforms, and if you are looking for classroom workshops, then we have regular sessions available in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi NCR, Mumbai and in Pune. Simply compare our many courses, find the one that suits your style and schedule best and start today.
How this volume got created in Jenkins container, which you have seen yesterday. Which user Jenkins is running with? What are the environments set for the Jenkins? This is the one. And last question I'm going to ask you. How to set PID1 for the container? That is important. I hope you remember this question. Very important question. How to set PID1 for the container. So now here, let's trace back. See, learning from this is okay, but if you really look at the file which has been developing the Jenkins image, which you've been using from last 2 days, Jenkins is not a small application, right? It's a CI tool, very popular, stable CI tool, Java-based tool. So if you look at that tool, we'll understand that how can we play out and create images for our products also. So accordingly, you can plan it out. Let's traverse that. So see here, this is the Jenkins official image. Now, if you go here, there's a multiple tagged with latest 2.63 Alpine. This is Alpine. So many versions are there. We have played with the latest all the time. We always play with the latest Jenkins latest. So can we do one thing? Can we go ahead with and find it out how this got developed? Look at this. This is Jenkins file for a Docker file for the Jenkins image. Not very big, hardly few lines are there, not more than 74 lines. Most of these are comments. If you look at the number of lines, you hardly find 20 instructions. This is a Docker file. Now here we will come back to this, but I want to traverse back. See, look at this. Jenkins is coming from where? Base image has been for Jenkins. Base image for the Jenkins is this one. OpenJDK 8-JDK. That's a base image. So can we go through this and can we find out the OpenJDK? So let's traverse through OpenJDK. So what I'm going to do, Docker Hub, OpenJDK, click on it. And if I see here, I want to see that which version, 8-JDK, right? So where to see here it is. It's AMD 64. Okay. Now, which version? 8-JDK. C is here. Okay. So these all are here. Click on it. Now, if I see this OpenJDK has been developed. This image has been developed using build packs. You see here. You see that. Now I have a curiosity. Okay, this build packs. Where is that? So let's open Docker Hub. Build packs. And this is all. Now this has been developed using the same image, but tags are different. You see here, tags are different. Here Buster curl. Go back. Stop. And here, if I see this image developed using Debian Buster. Now I want to know Debian. Debian is a kind of flavor of Linux. Okay. So here Docker Hub. Debian. And it has a Buster tag with. And here this image has been developed using, I clicked on it, it's still opening up. Did I lose the internet? Guys, are able to hear me? Yeah. So why is not opening? It got open. So here, look at this. This is what I wanted to show you. What is this? It says from scratch. The moment you see scratch, end of the story. That means that is your layer 0. So this is your layer 0. This is your layer 0. See here. This is from scratch, nothing. Adding means CP has a same one more additional command. CP copy you use, right? Copy is for copying the files inside the container. So same way, adding is a way to add this file at the root location in the container. Because I told you, remember, every line in the Docker file will create a one container. So from here one container will create, and then this file will be added at the root, but also it will be extracted in the root. And here CMD, which I will come back to this. So extract. So this is a root layer 0. See that how it has been developed. So this is a scratch, Debian Buster, build packs deps, build packs test, OpenJDK, Jenkins. Jenkins was needed JDK, so they used this one. This guy was needed something here. This guy was needed something here. And build packs depends on the Debian, which is a base image or root file system from scratch. So are you able to see that how the planning is being done? Are you able to understand this? Yes. Now I'll show you this content of this. You can see that this content you can download. This is the root file system, but for what? For what? Remember, every flavor of Linux has a different root file system. You can develop your own root file system also. I'm not saying you can develop your own file system, and you can develop your own runtime environment for the containers also, which I'll talk about in a second. So if I see here the tarball, you can find it here somewhere. Okay, I have downloaded. I'll show you this. probably will understand much better. So here, see, this is the root file system, the one which I have shown you in this here. Here. So do you recollect what is this?
Root file system, yeah.
Correct. These are the root file system. So this is where I'm just sharing something so you can plan in your mind how can you develop an image. For example, one just dumb plan, and I'll suggest you. Again, you have to come up with your plan. So first of all, we'll have some root file system. So here, let's say you have CentOS. We have Ubuntu. I'm just suggesting you, and then this will be one image. Which may have this image may have a multiple layers. I'm not talking about that, but this will be the base image. Okay. Now let's say your stack is running on Java 9. So you will install here one more image. You will create Java 9. This will be one more image created, Java 9 J9. Okay. Now on Java 9, you will have a one Tomcat. So you'll create one more image, Tomcat 6. Okay, today this released one Tomcat 6. On top of that, this will create a one more image, and this might be, you will generate every 5 minutes, 10 minutes as part of CI process, which is for your application. Version number 76, 77, 78, 79, 100. Every time it will change because of CI process. And in image creation is taking how much second? You know that yesterday you have used it. So now you decided for Java 9 to Java 10. So you will create one more image here, Java 10. Okay, Java 10. But you created from where? Base image. This is CentOS 7, just I'm thinking. Then you decided you will go for the Tomcat 7, but not on Java 10, Java 9, the Tomcat 7. And then see so how it's easy. So all the matter of 5 minutes. And then again your application. Again here you got Tomcat 8, and again your application. So guys, are you able to understand what I'm trying to tell you? How can you plan it out?
It's like microservices.
Like a branching out the image. Are you able to understand this? Okay guys, with that knowledge in place, I will ask you to, let's go through this Docker file. Okay, this Docker file. So guys, I will ask you to read one more time these 2 lines. Every line in a Docker file, create one layer. Every line in a Docker file, create one layer, and every line is a child of the previous line. So here, can you see that? See, in the Jenkins, you have so many lines, so many layers, right? So how these layers, you might have done history or something like that. So how these layers is coming? See. Now, an important thing is understanding each and everything. So run will do, you know what? Run will run the commands, those which you write, inside a container of previous layer. Again, I'm saying previous layer. Run will run the command inside a container of previous layer, because you can create a container from the layers also, image also, because image is nothing but the representation of layer, and each layer have a parent layer. Understand? So run, we have used it. Now what is the ARG? So guys, this will create also layer, but this will be having meta layer. Meta layer means this will not have any data layer, no file systems. These are the meta layers that will be stored in the var-lib Docker's var-lib Docker's image directory, not inside the overlay tool. Okay, so now what is exactly ARG is? So basically ARG is the argument declaration. In simple way, if I put it up, if you want to declare some values, something like a name is equal to Rajesh Kumar. So, and I want to use this variable multiple times in the project. So $name, $name, like that you can use. So this is the way. So here you declare the variable user value Jenkins. Group user group variable Jenkins, UID, GID, HTTP port, agent port, and so on. So these are the username and variable port. Okay, so these are the arguments. So here these are the arguments. So now if you look at this, where has been used this one? Let me show you. So search this. See here. User has been used here. $user, $user, $user. So like that. So you can declare it and use it. So this will avoid that, confusion to hard code, everything, everywhere, and something. Okay. So ARG is for that purpose. So here you declare user, group, UID, GID, HTTP port, and agent. Guys, any doubts so far with ARG? Any doubts so far? Guys, you understood?
Yes.
Okay. Now env will do what? Set the environment variable inside a container. This is also meta layer. This will not a data layer. This will not store in the overlay 2 directory. It will store in the image directory, var-lib docker image directory. All the meta information will not be there in the overlay 2. Only file system will be there in the overlay. Okay. So environment you want to set inside a container during runtime. So if you set this meta information, env, whatever the environment variable, you can do. Again you see run. Now you must be wondering how come whenever the Jenkins run container, it create a one volume, then container is gone, the volume is still there. How can that be possible? How that can be possible? So basically volume line. The moment you will write a volume, it will create a volume, which is the name of the volume will be given as per the 40 character. You have seen it already. And what that volume will do will be mounting inside a container at this location. Simple. See, so this way, whatever the file which Jenkins has been written, you will have the persistent. Okay, so this, and you can reuse the volume again with some other containers. That functionality you have it already. Okay, so that way you can make it happen. Now you see here, run again, env again, run again. Copy, you have used it already. Copy will copy the file or directories from the current directory, current context, inside a container. Container, but what container? Container which is created from this layer. So from this layer, line, one layer will be created. This command will run. This file will be copied inside a container of this layer. Understand that? So this copy, arg, env, arg, arg, run, env, env, run. Now export. So what is this? Expose. So guys, expose is here. You know that Jenkins is exposed at the two port, web port 8080 and a node 50,000. So when you write expose and then variable which you are calling for the 8080 and 5000, is it really impacting your container? The answer is no. It's not impacting your container. So that what you are trying to do. So through this, see, your application anyways, it will be running on 8080. Why? Because that port is declared in the application itself. Here is nothing to do with it. But here what you are doing, this is for the informational purpose. Like your application is getting exposed at that purpose. So it's not playing any important role and redefining any properties of the running container. But it's for the information, okay, I should access the web at 8080 and node at 50,000. Okay, so you can write it this one, you cannot write it, hardly matters, you should write it. Now again, environment. Now you must be wondering, your Ubuntu container was running as a root. Root user. So root is a genuine user, right? But how come Jenkins container were running with the Jenkins user? Where is that user created? Because before running some processes, understand the very simple concept. Before running some processes with some specific user, that user has to be created, right? How can you run without creation? So how can you run a container without having the user existed? So still here, everything was being done based on everything was being run based on the user which was set in this image. But after that, here I see that image runtime, container runtime, you are trying to change the username. So where this user got created, which is called Jenkins, because the user variable is Jenkins. So where that? So go back. Look at the each run and see if something is being happening. See that. Here you are creating a group and user. Here you are creating a group and user, that is because of that reason only you are able to run container with Jenkins. Guys, did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very simple concept, guys. So because of this, now copy again copy. This I'm not explaining, I'm just holding that. So guys, is it very difficult? Tell me, is it very difficult to write this Docker file? Can you write a Docker file for your applications also without any additional help? Guys,
I will try to write.
yeah, so try to write. Okay, now the question is, most important question for the Docker file is how to set PID1 for the container. That is a most important question. Most important question. How to set PID1 for the container. So guys, there is a two ways to set the PID1. Again guys, please focus. This is the most important question. This is where many people get stuck. So here you have CMD and entry point. Okay, you have CMD and entry point. Now, CMD and entry point. This is the way you can set the PID1. Remember the PID1, importance of PID1. I always say PID1 because of you should understand very clearly, not container process, because container has so many processes. So container process, if I tell, people get confused. So PID1. So how can we set PID1 for the container? Because if remember the PID1 is running, container is running, you can use it. If not running, you cannot use it. So it's like this. So there's a two-way Docker has given it to you, CMD and entry point. So you must be wondering, okay, fine, but which one I should use? When I should use? So one thing is clear, guys. You have to use this one, CMD and entry point, at any layers. Again, I said at any layers, for sure. Without that, your container will not start itself. I said start. Forget about the exit. Start itself. So you must be wondering, okay, I did not set it up. So if I did not set it up, what has happened in this case scenario? Yesterday we ran it. What has happened? Any idea?
It was using Ubuntu's PID1.
Right. It was using Ubuntu PID1. So guys, in this image itself, they were setting CMD. So I was continue using it. Let me show you rather than talking. You can see that visualization will be built with a good memory. Ubuntu hub Docker file. This is the Ubuntu one latest we used it in our training. And I think 64-bit, right? This one we use, right? Things like that. So latest. See here, bin bash. So you must be wondering how many people have asked me yesterday, how come bin bash is coming? How come bintini is coming? How come this is coming? How come Python is coming? Java is coming? Perl is coming? XYZ and MNP, ABC? How these are coming in the PID1? Answer is here. Answer is here. So at least one place in your total layers, you should be having either CMD or entry. At least one layer. And you know that now you must be wondering, okay, fine. What about if I have in this also and I write here also? So what will happen in this case, guys? Any idea? If I write here also and there also, what will happen?
It will overwrite.
Right. Remember the rule I said, very simple rule actually. If there is a conflict in the layers, the top layer always wins. So very simple concept. So guys, that you understood by now, like how to set PID1 for the containers, CMD on entry point. Now please look at it, this one also probably will be okay for you. See here, it's entry point and see what they are setting up. Bintini. See, look at this. This is the bintini and this is a parameter 1 and parameter 2. Okay, I don't know bintini, but bintini using you can hold this process because you know shell scripting behavior. Shell scripting behavior is you run it, shell script will exit, and give you the return value, whatever pass, fail, whatever it is. Now the problem here is if the shell script will exit, your PID1 will get exit, and PID1 will get exit, your container will get exit. So to hold that, this developer of Jenkins, they are using Bintini. Okay, so you can read more about the Bintini. Like that, there are so many processes, tools on it. So this is the way to this utility is not allowing this shell scripting to exit, always running, and any output which is stored, get it, you are seeing here. So like this. So entry point. So one thing we got clarity, how to set EID1 for the country. But still I have not got the clarity on which one to use it. That is the problem. Which one to use it? When to use it? So now we will understand that one. So guys, before talking about the differences between CMD and entry point, I would like to tell you the mode of executions in compute unit. In compute unit. Okay. Compute unit. Now, when I say mode of execution, that means there is a two mode. Okay. I'm not asking you because you might get confused with my question. Always it's a shell mode. Okay. Shell mode. And there is a one mode which is called executable mode. Executable mode. Okay. Shell mode and executable mode. Executable mode, for example, let me tell you what is the. Sometime what happens, you blindly type ls in Linux. So when you type ls, basically this is sent to your shell, bash shell or whatever the shell is set, is sent to shell, and then it executes. So that's the reason we call it shell mode. Sometimes you write more, ps, ls, all these things command you type, we write in the shell mode. But guys, sometimes what we do, we also run in the executable mode. How? This way. Give the full path. Okay. So this is the executable mode. That means you are calling directly that executable, not taking a help from shell. So this is the executable mode. This is a shell. Okay. Did you understand this?
So in executable mode, we are giving the explicit the path of the command, right? Where
Yeah.
the path is like for Java, where the Java command has to execute, right?
Right, full path of that executable. So that means here shell will not play any role. Directly Java will run directly. Okay. And then here you pass the parameter. Parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3, like this. Okay. This is the parameter. So now if you look at this here that way, so tell me, this is a shell mode or executable mode?
Executable mode.
Executable mode. You got it. And here, this is a shell mode or executable mode?
This is also executable.
Executable mode. Yeah. So now you got it. So now I'll tell you the CMD and parameter you also understand, right? Now I'll tell you the difference between CMD and entry point. So guys, here CMD, major difference I'm telling you, not to confuse you too many things. CMD can be replaced. Entry point cannot be replaced. Because if I made a statement, I have to prove it also. So let's use that machine to use this. This new UI of AWS, probably I'm not very comfortable. So let me log into this machine. Just give me 2 minutes. I have to close this, rerun this. Okay. Done. Okay, so now I'll show you here. CMD can be replaced, entry point cannot be replaced. So let me get the Docker full Ubuntu, which is with the CMD. And Docker full Jenkins, which is with the entry point. And now, if you see here, Docker images, look at my screen please. Now what I will do, Docker run -d Ubuntu. Okay, Ubuntu you see here, I just don't care about whether it's exiting or not. Exiting, why is exiting? You know that. So I did not add it for this, so that's it. Now, what is this command? Bin bash. See, so Ubuntu is with the CMD I showed you, and I run it bin bash. Now you see here, see, it got replaced. You want to see that? So here what is doing, -d I'll remove now. See here, it completed the work. First you see that it completed the work and then it exited. Understood? So this is completed the work and then exited it. So here replaced CMD PID1 can be replaced from the Ubuntu, which I said CMD can be replaced. Now I will show you the entry point. Docker run -d Jenkins. You know this command. It will run, keep on running because you know that it will hold it. So it's a binding. You see here. Can I try to replace this? See, it got exited. So see here. Exited because ls is a bad parameter, but is it got replaced? Tell me. Did it got replaced? Entry point?
No.
So guys, these are the major difference which we have in the CMD and entry point. Both will see. I'm not telling you how to hold the process. This is under the developer's perspective. How to hold the PID1, that's a different thing. Docker is not responsible for it. But how to create a PID1, Docker is giving you two things, CMD and entry point. CMD can be replaced, entry point cannot be replaced. Okay, so this is the difference. So now the question is where and all you can use it. So guys, sometime what happens, see here, just simple logic. You want to run something, let's say some Java classes or some Selenium test cases or some QTP test cases or something. You want to run something and get the output. You do not bother more than that. So in that case, CMD is the right choice. Why? Because CMD will run, complete the work and exit. When it gets exit, it clear the resources also, like a CPU and RAM, which is very important. Remember, we all are fighting for last 2-3 days because of that only one that reason. So it will release the resources. You will not keep on running by mistake also, right? You don't have to stop it. Automatically it will clear the resources. Now if you want to delete also, -rm you add container will be deleted after work actually. That will be deleted. Okay. So now, but sometimes you need a web applications, like one best example which you are already using, Jenkins, Apache, Nginx, what to say, some Jira, Nexus, Artifactory, any web application or something which you want to keep on running. So in that case, you should be having entry point. One more reason is that sometimes, one more very important reason, sometimes you don't want the container's behavior to change. Understand that. You don't want the container's behavior to be changed. So when you do not want the container's behavior to be changed, you should use entry point. Because when you use CMD, the behavior of containers got changed. You saw that here. It become ls. It can become anything, guys. I said anything. Remember, I said first day only anything. So let me become anything. Let me see here. Anything. This is anything. And you see here, this got failed. But you see the containers got created and try to run it. See here. Anything. This created. Try to run it. Did not run it because executable was not. DS was not there inside a container. Did not run. If I run something else, let's say what? More. It will become a more. It will run. See here. More exited. Why? Because more utility was there inside a container. Insert in the path. So guys, now you understood that CMD and entry point. Did you understand the CMD and entry point? All of you.
Yes.
Okay. So guys, CMD and entry point you can provide in the shell mode also. executable mode also. Look at this. Tell me here. This is a executable mode or shell mode?
No, it's shell mode.
This is a shell mode and this is a executable mode. So you decide this is a shell mode, this is a executable mode. So both the mode you can provide it, guys, and up to you. Now, do you have any questions on Dockerfile? Any questions on Dockerfile? What about if you keep 2 entry points? Guys, these questions I will ask randomly to anyone. I know that I'm not asking questions, even though if I tell I'll ask later, but I will ask these questions. What about if you have 2 entry points in one Docker file? Don't try to Google, just it will take 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, 2-3 minutes to find it out, trust me. What about if you have a 2 CMD in one Docker file? What about if you have 1 CMD and 1 entry point in the Docker file? So you have to answer this question. Same time, I want you to do one more lab, guys, and that is, I'm giving it to you. Yes. Just let me do. Okay, so this is a lab and you have to understand. It's not like running blindly. You have to understand this. What here? It's very important thing. Use of link in container. This is a very important concept. Microservices. Okay, you'll have to understand this. So you have to tell me what is this. You have to tell me what is this. And one more thing. I'll give you 5-6 labs. Fix the issues on that. So which issues? You have to fix it for me. Okay, so guys, you will be tomorrow, you'll be going and developing your own image. Fix and run all these Docker image, Docker file, and experience it. So here I have a given 5 Docker file, small, it will hardly take few seconds, but there's some problem in that and some very minor problem. You need to fix it. You have a Google also. See here, this is the executable mode, this is the shell mode, this is the executable mode, this is the executable mode, this is the shell mode. So you have to experience. See here, this is simple, small argument. Okay, you have to build it, experience, run it, and see the behavior and observe that. Okay, so here you are holding the background, here not holding, so you will understand that. So here you need to tell me these questions. I will ask you, keep ready. You have to experience this one, hardly take 5 minutes, but you have to tell me what exactly each and everything. I will ask, what is this, what is this, okay, what exactly these are doing, okay, and then all those images. Okay, assignment is clear for everyone? Any questions?
If you liked our Docker session so far, please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest.
Thanks for watching.